Hey everyone, Garbage here. I've been a fan of the Halo series for over 20 years now, and up until about a year ago, I was wrongly under the impression that the crosshairs in Halo games were in the center of the screen like many other first-person shooters, probably because Halo Combat Evolved, the one I remember most fondly, did in fact have centered crosshairs unlike later Halos. Turns out I was remembering things incorrectly, and all the Halos from 2 through 4 had crosshairs that sat a bit lower on the screen. And there are already a few videos out there talking about why Bungie decided to do this, mainly because it works well with the vertical nature of the maps and gameplay in Halo. In addition, lowering the crosshair means that the view model has to be lower on the screen as well so as not to appear misaligned. And this has the added benefit of letting players see more of their surroundings without a big gun blocking their vision. And the overall takeaway is that this was a very deliberate design choice to address certain gameplay issues Bungie thought were important, something that carried over to the Destiny series as well. Hunt Showdown is another example of a game with an off-center crosshair. I read somewhere that, along with all the previous benefits mentioned with Halo, it was also done to reduce the effectiveness of head glitching, since with a lower crosshair it would be harder to just barely peek your head over cover and get a sneaky pot shot on the enemy. Much like Rainbow Six Siege, in Hunt Showdown the ability to shoot through little cracks and crevices is extremely powerful, and perhaps Crytek felt it was necessary to rein it in a little bit. One thing that doesn't get mentioned often is that lowering the crosshair actually makes developing the game a bit more complicated. For example, when aiming down sights with a center crosshair, all the game needs to do is pull the sights up to the center of the screen and it all lines up perfectly. Whereas if you wanted to ADS with a lowered crosshair, the sights don't line up in quite the same way. And so what you have to do is use a bit of forced perspective and rotate the gun downwards a little bit so it looks the way you'd expect. But having the gun pointed down like this changes the way you do first-person animations, it changes the lighting on the weapon. With the crosshair in a different position, it changes the way the bullet physics need to be handled, and overall it's just a bit more complex than your standard crosshair in the middle of the screen. But for games like Halo and Hunt, I think it's worth it, and it makes them unique. One thing I was afraid of before I started playing Hunt was that the lowered crosshair would throw off my aim since I'm more accustomed to a centered crosshair. But I found it very intuitive to learn, and I think most people get used to it with no problems. Particularly in the case of Halo, I think it vastly improves the gameplay experience. And while it's not quite the same, the way Insurgency Sandstorm and Tarkov's bullet physics are based on where the barrel of the gun is pointed rather than a fixed point on the screen is a more realistic approach that I appreciate a lot as well. So let me know in the comments if there are other games you play that feature non-centered crosshairs or just mix things up in general when it comes to aiming. I imagine a lot of you will say Arma and Squad. Feel free, go crazy in the comments. But yeah, hope you learned something today. Like, subscribe, and bell. Links to my Twitter and everything else down below. And as always, have a nice day.